So now we're going to talk about movable chords, okay? And that's chords that you can move up or down the guitar neck, okay? So although it may seem like you can move chords sideways across strings, they become completely different types of chords, okay, if that makes sense. So an E chord, an E major, starting with the thickest string is 0, 2, 2, 1, 0, 0. That's an E major chord. Okay, now if I move these fingers just over one string, okay, now not only am I playing a different letter, a different root note, a different letter name, first name of the chord, it's an A, but now it's an A minor. So I went from E major to A minor. Okay, so moving chords across strings completely changes the chord. Okay, so I'm talking about like moving chords up and down the neck. So okay, and I'll show you in a minute, but just for an example, so this chord is a G major, that's an F major, that's an A major, that's an A sharp major. So it stays as a major chord, just the root note, the first name of the chord changes. Okay, and that's what we want. We don't want it to change completely. Okay, so that's what I mean by movable chords. Chords that you can move up and down the neck, and if they're a major chord, they stay a major chord. If it's a minor chord, it stays a minor chord. If it's a seventh chord, whatever chord, it stays that chord. It just becomes a different root note, a different first name for the chord. Okay, so if we look at a few different movable chord shapes, okay, and I'll make them nice and easy. Okay, so the first chord shape that we're going to do, we'll call it a G major chord shape. Okay, so what we have here is, I'm not playing the thickest string, I'm playing the 5th fret on the A, the 5th fret on the D, the 4th fret on the G, and the 3rd fret on the B string. Okay, so that's a G major. If I move it up 2 frets, it becomes an A major. Okay, and the reason for that is the root note in here at the 5th fret on the D string, the way I'm doing it, my pinky, that note is a G. Okay, that's the root note. This is a G major chord. If I change that pinky note to become an A by moving up 2 frets, all the other fingers move up 2 frets. Everything stays exactly the same, just moves up 2 frets. So it stays major, it now becomes an A major. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Then the next chord that we're going to talk about we'll do as a C major chord. Okay, now you may know a C major chord like this. You don't play the thickest string, then you play the 3rd fret on the A, 2nd fret open G, 1st fret on the B, and open high E, and you do that. The problem is, this isn't a movable chord, because as soon as we move it up 1 fret, my fingers moved up 1 fret, but the strings that were open, the zeros, stay 0. So that's no good, right? So we have 3, 2, 0, 1, 0. If I move up 1 fret, now we have 4, 3, change, change, 0, didn't change, 2, changed, 0, didn't change. So we end up with see? So those 2 strings keep staying 0. So that's not a good movable chord. Although some of them come out sounding kind of neat. A C chord moved up 2 frets is a kind of neat sounding chord, but it's not a C major anymore. And it moves up, the root note becomes a D, and it's not a D major either. It becomes a totally different chord. So again, not a good movable chord. If we do a C like this though, not playing the low E string, 3rd fret, then 5th, 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 3rd, 5th, 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 and then not playing the high E string. Okay, that uses no open strings, no zeros, so I can now move that. So if I move it up 2 frets, that becomes a D major. Okay, and if this is a little bit hard to do, I'm using my pinky, my pinky across those 3 strings. You could try 3 fingers across those 3 strings, or your 3rd finger, 1, 2, 3, across them. I'm just more comfortable using my pinky for it. But you could also just play the strings, the D, G, and the B strings. So the C major that I played would now be, you don't play the low E, you don't play the A, then you play 5, 5, 5, then you don't play the high E. So it's just those 3 strings. You can even just do it with 1 finger. And then if you move it up 2 frets, so now instead of 5, 5, 5, it's 7, 7, 7, that becomes a D major chord. Okay? And if you move it up 2 more frets, 9, 9, 9, it becomes an E major chord. So C, D, E major. Okay? So now we have, by moving these around, we have A, D, E, and A. And I know a song that we can use those chords in.